All right, here we are. We're starting a new book today. We're going to do Glamour, a World Problem. And, there's a few reasons to get, to knock some of these other books out. They're very important. They're very much foundational. And they're going to really pave the way for us, I want to say, to move into a treatise on the 7 rays, which is the five volumes that really are this, the psychological key to the secret doctrine by HPB, which also Master DK had a big part in helping write. To what extent I don't know, obviously. But this book is illuminating in itself. So before we start getting really deep into into the other esoteric stuff, this is bringing out and showing us more or less the human condition and our problems that we're dealing on. And they've been expressed in many ways throughout time. And this is probably the most advanced way right now to express this. This is going to be very interesting. There's, I remember there's parts in here that we're talking about lots of illusion, lots of shows us our desired nature and how these things play out in our lives, and how we can dissipate this glamour and move on past these levels where the illusion are found, and begin to move into reality and get soul light, coming through the mind and into the brain. So very interesting stuff here. And like I said, I think it's foundational. So we're going to do this, and then I believe we'll get into a treatise on the 7 rays, which is immense, which is 5 volumes, esoteric psychology 1 and 2, esoteric healing, esoteric astrology, and rays and initiations. And that's going to take us, that's going to be our real work moving forward. I want to say, if so long as everything goes smoothly and we keep this channel going and keep working on this, that's going to be an immense study. So why not join in and really see the benefits of it for ourselves, and hopefully we can add more people and grow and discuss these things much deeper even. And I'd like to do that myself, honestly. But I know in my mind this material needs to be put out in different ways. Just because it's been done by somebody else doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be done again. So the more of us that are doing it, the better, and the more that join in, the better, and the more who download the PDFs and or get the books and read it and put their eyeballs on it, the better as well, because we've talked about how important it is to actually read it on our own as well. And these things are available for free as this one is as well. There's a free download. It'll be in the comments. All right. So with that being said, let's get started. I'm looking forward to this very much. I read this book over the summer, last spring. I guess it was about 10 months ago or so is when I probably started it, and I read it up and through about May or something, March to May of last year. And it was just so great. So before we get into the real deep esoteric stuff, this is really illuminating. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to shut up and let's get started now. DK's and Alice Bailey's words are much more powerful than mine could ever be, and that's why we read this stuff. So, certain preliminary clarifications. All groups involved in esoteric work have their own dharma or duty, and all have their peculiar objective. In order that you may clearly vision what you as aspirants to discipleship have to do, and so intelligently cooperate, I will concisely state the purpose. Dharma means duty or obligation. It is your definite and specific obligation to develop the intuition. The means or methods whereby this development is to be brought about can be by the study of symbols. I would ask you to note that generalities concerning the intuition and attempts to define it are very common, but that a real apprehension of it is rare. We are told by physicians and scientists that thousands of cells in the human brain are still dormant, and consequently, that the average human being uses only a small part of his equipment. The area of the brain which is found around the pineal gland is that connected with the intuition, and it is these cells which must be roused into activity before there can be any real intuitive perception, which, when aroused, will manifest soul control, spiritual illumination, true psychological understanding of one's fellow men, and a development of the true esoteric sense, which is the objective before you at this time. I would like to divide what I have to say into 3 parts, and I plead for a close study of my words. 1, I seek to define for you the intuition. 2, I shall deal with its mode of development through the study of symbology. And 3, I shall close by giving some specific instructions as to a useful mode of procedure. Should you, therefore, find these articles hard to understand and your reaction slow, you must bear in mind that this indicates your need for this study and corroborates what I'm telling you. If you will seriously consider with me what the intuition is not, I think my words will find in you an inner response. What can you say? It's been put on us that, developing the intuition and working through illusion and getting to the higher levels, subplanes of the mental plane, that this is our dharma, right? This is our duty. And how do we do it? We do it through mental work and symbols, understanding symbols are not, it's not what we think. We're going to learn what more about it as we go here. But symbols, the mental plane can be understood by symbols and the meaning of these symbols. And we will begin to start to see the meaning of things, and then later the reason and significance. So we're building up to this. This is very this is a gradual process. We have no choice. There's no skipping in line without potential danger to ourselves. There's no jumping ahead. This is how this goes. So This is why it's so important that we're doing this work. All right, now we're going to define what is the intuition. What is the definition of intuition? The intuition is not a welling forth of love to people, and therefore an understanding of them. Much that is called the intuition is recognition of similarities in the possession of a clear analytical mind. Intelligent people who have lived in the world for some time and who have experienced much and who have contacted many other people can usually sum up with facility the problems and dispositions of others, provided they are interested. This they must not, however, confound with the intuition. So as we see it, that's not what the intuition is. This is just the intelligent use of the brain or the mental apparatus here, or an experience. This is not the true spiritual intuition. The intuition has no relation to psychism, either higher or lower, the seeing of a vision, the hearing of the voice of the silence. A pleased reaction to teaching of any kind does not infer the functioning of the intuition. It is not only the seeing of symbols, for that is a special sort of perception and the capacity to tune in on the universal mind upon that layer of its activity which produces the pattern forms on which all etheric bodies are based. So I'm going to go ahead and let you discern what was just said there. Okay, that's a very individual thing there. But it is not intelligent psychology and a loving desire to help. That emanates from the interplay of a personality governed by a strong soul orientation and the group conscious soul. Intuition is the synthetic understanding, which is the prerogative of the soul, and that only becomes possible when the soul, on its own level, is reaching in two directions, towards the monad and towards the integrated and perhaps, even if only temporarily, coordinated and at one personality. It is the first indication of a deeply subjective unification, which will find its consummation at the third initiation. So, intuition is the synthetic understanding, which is the prerogative of the soul, and it only becomes possible when the soul, on its own level, is reaching in two directions, towards the monad and towards the integrated personality. And this is another good time to take a look at the chart for the Constitution of Man, and I'll put a copy of that. I'll try to get a copy of that again into all the notes for this for the book, because that's something that we can constantly refer back to. And like I said, I have it on my wall. I spend a bit of time just staring at the chart, because like I said, there's so much in it, and it represents symbolically so much in a way, right? All right. Intuition is a comprehensive grip of the principle. I don't even know where I got mental from. Intuition is a comprehensive grip of the principle of universality. And when it is functioning, there is, momentarily at least, a complete loss of the sense of separateness. At its highest point, it is known as that universal love, which has no relation to sentiment or to the affectional reaction, but is predominantly in the nature of an identification with all beings. All is, all is one, and there's that recognition of that, or identification with that, I guess you could say, as Michael Robbins would probably point out. It's just further identification with what is. Then is true compassion known. Then does criticism become impossible. Then only is the divine germ seen as latent in all forms. Intuition is light itself. And when it is functioning, the world is seen as light, and the light bodies of all forms become gradually apparent. This brings with it the ability to contact the light center in all forms. And thus again, an essential relationship is established, and the sense of superiority and separateness recedes into the background. So we are becoming humble in this. There's no option. Being humble is not an option. We will be humbled, and we will be humbled until we are not humble, or until we are completely humble, rather. That doesn't mean you don't have a personality. But we will be humbled, and we are needed. Humbleness is needed, and it's a requirement, and it will happen one way or another. Intuition, therefore, brings with its appearance three qualities. Illumination. By illumination, I do not mean the light in the head. This is incidental and phenomenal, and many truly intuitive people are entirely unaware of this light. The light to which I refer is that which irradiates the way. It is the light of the intellect, which really means that which illumines the mind and which can reflect itself in that mental apparatus which is held steady in the light. This is the light of the world, a reality which is eternally existent, but which can be discovered only when the individual interior light is recognized as such. This is the light of the ages, which shineth evermore until the day be with us. The intuition is therefore the recognition in oneself, not theoretically, but as a fact in one's experience of one's complete identification with the universal mind, of one's constituting a part of the great world life, and of one's participation in the eternal persisting existence. Now, is it not a relief to be reading these things at this point now, after having coming from initiation, human and solar? We kind of wonder where this is going to go, and this is a great extension in my for me. This is a great extent. I'm happy to be reading this stuff now, because now we're really digging into the very deep concepts in the mind here, the universal mind. And this, if we didn't know, if we read the previous books or listened to the previous books that we did, this is bringing together many of the other, I guess you could say, religions at this point. You've heard these things before. You've heard these things by the Vivekanandas, by the Yoganandas, by the Ramakrishnas, by Ramana Maharshis. You've heard this by, all of them. You've heard it even by, the Alan Watts and by Ram Dass's, and this is becoming nobody. This is identification with the universal mind. This is Vedanta. This is all of it wrapped up into one. And we are making the attempt to understand this now, right? Not just in theory, but we are learning we're learning it from all angles at this point. This is why this material is so crucial. It's not just telling you to go sit and be quiet. It's telling us how these things are functioning. The actual scientific justification for the need to do certain things is being explained to us. And in the learning of that, we're able to be lifted up. In the learning as and doing it, there's a whole new level being added to this. All right. I'm just pondering here, and I hope it doesn't upset anybody. This is great stuff. All right, so now we're moving on to the intuition. Therefore, brings with its appearance three qualities. It brings with it illumination, and we just went through illumination. It also brings with it understanding. This must be appreciated in its literal sense, and that which stands under the totality of forms. So now we have the word understanding, which stands under the totality of forms. It connotes the power of recession, or the capacity to withdraw from one's age-long identification with form life. This is where it talks about we give up the body. You have to let go of the body. We have to let it go. And we heard these things many times. Your problem is this because you identify with the form or you identify with the body. This is what we're talking about. I would like to point out that this withdrawal is comparatively easy for those who have much of the first-rate quality in them. The problem is to withdraw in the esoteric sense, but to avoid at the same time the sense of separateness, of isolation, and of superiority. It is easy for first-rate people to resist the tendency to identify themselves with others. So that would allude to a level of separateness that needs to be, overcome there. To have true understanding involves an increased ability to love all beings, and yet at the same time to preserve personality detachment. This detachment can be so easily founded on an inability to love and a selfish concern for one's own comfort, physical, mental, or spiritual, and above all, emotional. First-rate people dread emotion and despise it, but sometimes they have to swing into an emotional condition before they can use emotional sensitivity in the right manner. And this, that would just include the right use of it. That's a deep section there. It's easy for the first one. The love of one becomes the love of all. And it's not to say that this world makes it easy for us to love it. It does not, right? This is in our experience. You want to, but at the same time, you can. We can lift our beingness up high enough and let go enough to where we can love all. That's very real. And just as simple in meditation in 5 minutes in the morning can really get us there. And as Nisargadatta says, free of all predilections, void of all predilections, I'm free to love. And in that statement is so much, void of all predilections. That's our problem, is our our pull towards, this or that thing that we desire, or, we like more than another thing. The goal is to just find it all not, and I guess find it all equal. Understanding involves contact with life as an integrated personality, plus egoic reaction to the group purposes and plans. It connotes personality-soul unification, wide experience, and a rapid activity of the indwelling Christ principle. Intuitional understanding is always spontaneous. Where the reasoning to an understanding enters, it is not the activity of intuition. A lot of us need to hear this, and not just hear it. It needs, it should be reiterated. Especially if we're not staying at this level yet, right? And most of us are not. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to be reading these books right now, to be honest with you. We would be, we wouldn't need books. We have need of this material to get us to that point, though. And these are the ingredients, when put in and mixed up, will bring the magic to get us to that level that we're trying to, that our Dharma is telling us to get to. The third quality that the intuition brings with it is love. As earlier said, this is not affectionate sentiment or the possession of a loving disposition. So we immediately here, it's recognized that we misunderstand love, what it actually is. These two later aspects are incidental and sequential. When the intuition is developed, both affection and the possession of a spirit of loving outgo will necessarily, in their pure form, be demonstrated. But that which produces these is something much more deep and comprehensive. It is that synthetic, inclusive grasp of the life and need of all beings. I have chosen these two words with intent. And these words were, I'm going to read it again. It is that synthetic, inclusive grasp of the life and need of all beings, which it is the high prerogative of a divine Son of God to operate. And we need to understand, we need to grasp inclusive grasp of the life and need, which it is the high prerogative of a divine Son of God to operate. It is that synthetic, inclusive grasp of life, of the life that we need. It negates all that builds barriers, makes criticism, and produces separation. It sees no distinction, even when it appreciates need, and it produces in one who loves as a soul immediate identification with that which is loved. Boy, is that something. It sees no distinction, even when it appreciates need, and it produces in one who loves as a soul immediate identification with that which is loved. So it allows us to understand the system essentially, because this system is a second ray system. It is love wisdom, it's foundational, and we can brings identification with this, and at one with that is how I'm hearing these things. These three words sum up the three qualities or aspects of the intuition and can be covered by the word universality, or the sense of universal oneness. So, universal oneness and the intuition has three qualities. And we're looking at illumination, and those qualities being illumination, understanding, and love. And the words life, quality, and appearance, life, quality, and appearance should and will mean something very specific to us later. And then we have all these triplicities, and they do stick. And so when we hear the word quality, these are qualities that we can really appreciate, right? Intuition, and then understanding, illumination, understanding, and love. And these three words sum up the three qualities or aspects of the intuition and can be covered by the word universality, or the sense of universal oneness. Is that not something which all aspirants aim to achieve? I would say yes, sir, it is. And is it not something that each of you as individuals needs in a peculiar sense? It is. Where it is present, there is an immediate decentralization of the dramatic I, of that capacity always to relate all happenings, all phenomena, all group work to oneself as the center. I cannot enlarge further upon the subject of intuition. It is too vast a matter and too abstruse. All I can do is to put before you its three aspects, and then to urge upon you the need to submit to that training and to apply to yourselves that discipline which will work out in your life as love, light, and understanding. When the theory is grasped, and that alludes to the fact that those three are not in particular order there, right? So we got love, light, and understanding. When the theory is grasped and the right adjustments are made, and when the needed work is done, the personality then becomes magnetic, whilst the brain cells around the pineal gland, which have hitherto been dormant, become awakened and vibrant. The nucleus of every cell in the body is a point of light, and when the light of the intuition is sensed, it is this cell light which will immediately respond. The continuance of the inflow of the light of the intuition will draw forth, esoterically speaking, into the light of day every cell which is so constituted that it will respond. And as I'm reading this, I'm thinking of Luke 11:34, which says, if the light of thine eye be single, the whole body be full of light. Right? or however, I'm pretty sure it's something very close to that gets the thought form across. But this is really incredible stuff. It looks like these sections are broken up pretty well, and provide good stopping places, because these chapters are longer than what we would normally read in a day. So we're going to we'll break it up into the sections. We just finished the first section, which is really about defining intuition. And we covered some of the preliminary clarifications. But this stuff is very deep where this is going. It's going to be great. We need this. This is the kind of stuff that is just awesome. Not that any of it all is, but we're digging in now a bit more. And then tomorrow we will start in on the mode of awakening the intuition. So we can contemplate today and on the meaning of this illumination, understanding and love, and how that constitutes, those three qualities constitute really intuition. And it's intuition is a comprehensive grip of the principle of universality, and when it is functioning, there is, momentarily at least, a complete loss of the sense of separateness. Intuition is the synthetic understanding, which is the prerogative of the soul, and it only becomes possible when the soul, on its own level, is reaching in two directions, toward the monad and towards the integrated personality, that one personality. So this is consummated at the third initiation, but prior to this, we should even, see, even if temporarily, glimpse these things. And this is great. Okay, we're going to leave it there. There's a lot to think about. Definitely would spend some time on this. And we'll get back at it tomorrow, and we will talk about the mode of awakening the intuition. All right, excited for the new book. Have a good one. We'll see you later.